It is Monday, June 18th, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very productive, although kind of tame, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Monday. I don't know what it was, but the other day or this morning or something, I did do Jiu-Jitsu twice today. I went in for the 6 a.m. class, and that was more conditioning than anything, because there was only two other gentlemen in there, and they tend to be working together every time I come in there. So on the Monday class, so it seems like it between the two of them, it's more a focused session. You know, I mean, if there were more people in the class, I'm sure that the instructor or the instructor class person who is actually opening the dojo would be instructing us and having a little more formal class, you know. But like I said, it was good just to get on the mat, move around a little bit. Apparently I did gain a few pounds over this last weekend, so gonna have to work extra hard just to get some recovery on that. For those of you who are unaware, I did get my blue belt on Friday, and yeah, it was a real blast. Went out, had some pizza with the guys and gals of the dojo, and had a few slices of pie. Kind of tore up the town, had a little bit of fun, and but yeah, you know, I don't feel any real difference as far as my capability, but apparently everybody else was. Although I will say that I did go through some sort of transition, it feels like, over the last month, where I'm relaxing a little more, I'm taking a little more time, you know, not being really quick to jump from one thing to another, and it seems like that's starting to work out for me. Although today at the end of class we did do like King of the Hill for the last 15-20 minutes of the class, or 15 minutes or so of the class, and I did not get in on that because, you know, my arm was already kind of messing with me from the lessons that we've already done, and we'd done some positional sparring already. So, you know, like I said, I felt like I got that in for the time that I was there, and I'm sure that at some point or another I'll feel more than competent to complete all of the sparring in class. But really, my arm was just really bugging me after the positional sparring, so I kind of decided that was more than enough work on the arm today, you know, and just trying to work back into it, because I've already had a couple really, really close calls where if I would have fallen wrong on it, I'd have been done ski for another 2 months. So, you know, I'm starting to get ahead, and I don't want to knock myself back. So I've been that much more attentive about preserving my arm and not doing too much to give it to my opponent, you know. At least make him work for it and tap quickly thereafter. But yeah, as far as what we covered, it was mostly transitions, and honestly, I feel like I need at least like 3 more hours of transition a week. You know, just like transitioning from either one side or the other on going from side mount to full mount, and kind of bailing out in the event that you feel like you're going to get bucked. You know, kind of wide stepping out, and also capturing the outside leg with bringing the leg back over to go back into full mount. And so, like I said, that was pretty productive today. And we also did a really neat thing with regard to the knee in developing a full mount and going into like a really high full mount, and then going straight into an armbar from there. I thought that was special. I like any of those kind of movements where I can close the gap, hold the gap, and do the submission without having to give up the gap again. You know, like once I've closed the gap, I like to retain it. You know, and then just make it too painful to stay there or something like that. But yeah, so as far as King of the Hill, I did bow out of that. I do anticipate that sometime in the near future I will be getting back to those kind of sparring sessions in class. But in all honesty, I'm just starting to turn up the pressure on myself as far as what I'm actually doing in class. And I'm expecting that at one point in the not so distant future, possibly either this week or next week, I'll be back to completing full classes and up to speed with everybody else. Because like I said, I have been getting kind of strong with this arm again. It's just, it starts throbbing, it starts bugging me, and it's like, okay, I don't want to tax it or test it or push it too hard, and end up being away from the mat that much longer. So just doing what I can and moving forward ever so slowly. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. And I haven't opened it up with Coal Chamber for a long time, so here it is. Big Truck, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Megadeth with Holy War's The Punishment Due. And so, it's with that I want to start off with this one. I was trying to think of exactly which tab to start off with, because I do have several that could launch us into a number of directions. However, given the nature of the last song, or at least the title of it, I think this one is the one to go with. So this one's on ccn.com. JP Morgan fined $65 million for manipulating US dollar benchmark. Let that sink in a moment. And there is no author directly attributed, so no indication of penis. Anyway, it was authored June 18th, 2018, so today, 22:15, I guess probably UTC. No indication of time zone, so that's just what we'll have to go with. Continuing on. The Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, on Monday slapped J.P. Morgan Chase Bank with a $65 million fine for attempting to manipulate the value of a U.S. dollar benchmark index. J.P. Morgan busted for trying to manipulate USD benchmark. According to the CFTC, J.P. Morgan traders repeatedly attempted to manipulate the U.S. Dollar International Swaps and Derivatives Association (FIX) (USD ISDAFIX), an interest rate benchmark over a 5-year period from 2007 to 2012. The Commission found that J.P. Morgan traders attempted to manipulate the U.S. ISDAFIX interest rate both by knowingly publishing false rates and by muscling the index immediately prior to its daily reference point snapshot. Commenting on the fine, James McDonald, the CFTC's Director of Enforcement, said, quote, "This matter is one in a series of CFTC actions that clearly demonstrates the Commission's unrelenting commitment to root out manipulation from our markets and to protect those who rely on the integrity of critical financial benchmarks. JP Morgan quietly considers offering cryptocurrency products." Interesting. Much has been made about the allegations that last year's Bitcoin price rally was caused by market manipulation, specifically trades related to USD-pegged stablecoin Tether, but this enforcement action serves as a reminder that manipulation exists in virtually all financial markets and is perpetrated even by regulated financial institutions. I want y'all to pay attention to the time frame on that one too. I mean, we're talking about 5 years from 2007 to 2012. Could you deal with that amount of lag in knowing that you were manipulated by JP Morgan on your Bitcoin prices or something to that effect? Personally, I say no. I think that the Twitter sphere is much more responsive to shit like that. Continuing on. As CCN reported, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon has been an outspoken critic of Bitcoin, an asset that he once called a, quote, fraud, that it is worse than the tulip bubble. Dimon later walked back on those comments, but in an ironic twist, the bank was sued for committing fraud by charging customers excessive fees for Bitcoin purchases made with credit cards without warning them in advance. The institution, like many of its peers, has since banned customers from buying cryptocurrencies on credit. Despite Dimon's public statements, JP Morgan has reportedly been holding behind-the-scenes discussions about making cryptocurrency products available to its customers, beginning with Bitcoin futures. Most recently, Bloomberg reported that JP Morgan is one of several major banks considering launching a cryptocurrency custodial service for institutional investors. The lack of regulated custodians is one main reason that many analysts believe institutions have been reluctant to invest in crypto assets. And I think they're all incorrect. Let's see here. Jamie Dimon, CFTC still. Oh, here we go. LT responds, and this was 2 hours ago. CFTC still lets them manipulate the hell out of silver in COMEX futures. Biggest shorters in futures, while at the same time biggest purchasers of physical silver. Hi. Yeah, just reviewing some of the comments here, and these guys, a lot of them have it right. But anyway, I've said this multiple times on this show that you have manipulation going on in regulated markets. You have regulated brokers fucking people out of millions of dollars all the fucking time. And yet, there's somehow this expectation that it's not good, you can't do it in crypto, and that's just not true. Especially when you have items such as quote unquote stable coins that, by their very very nature, require manipulation just to stabilize the price. You can't have these things in between you and Bitcoin or US dollars and Bitcoin and not have some sort of manipulation. You've given somebody a tremendous advantage on price setting of their medium against Bitcoin. And what do you think they're going to do with that position? They're gonna fucking abuse it. And I know I'm breaking the fuckometer here, but sorry. But yeah, they're going to abuse that position to their advantage. And they're going to be seeking to make as much money as possible. And it disturbs me because of this, okay? We already know that there are regulated digital service providers, digital payment service providers out there, such as Visa or MasterCard or any of these, right? We already know that they themselves, if not they themselves, they're the banks that use their services, abuse their position as payment service providers. Now, why anybody would want to introduce payment service providers into Bitcoin, a system that is designed specifically to be able to work without such, is beyond me. I just don't understand it. You know, the fact of the matter is that it's not up to Bitcoin to have to make the change of having level 2 and layer 2 and all that other BS on top of it. It's up to us to use Bitcoin as it's meant to be used, but to our greatest advantage. You know, so when you're buying it, you want to be buying it cheap. When you're selling it, you want to be making a profit. You know, But with regard to the actual transaction throughput, we already know for a fact that we need way more room for transactions to be happening. And as far as I'm concerned, trying to do everything off-chain, you're only introducing the possibility of having brokers like JP Morgan who demonstrate probably every 2 years or at least once a year that they are willing to exceed the scope of the law, reinterpret the law to their advantage, and the cost of everybody else. Now, creating a position that could very well be occupied by brokers just like JP Morgan does not seem very smart to me, especially when you're trying to do it into a system that was designed specifically because of the previous actions of organizations like JP Morgan. So again, why do you want to create a position for them in a system that was designed to work without them? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you might as well just invite the invading armies in and say, "Here, eat my lunch." And it's with that I wanted to get onto the next angle of regulation. My next article that I got here is it's from InsideBitcoins.com, and this one to me it shows kind of abuse of the public on the side of the regulators. And so here we go. Bit license number 7. You know, I always thought I was exaggerating when I'd said they'd issued only like 10 licenses. Apparently they've issued 7 now. New York grants another license to Bitcoin app Square. And this is by Sambraj Das. And let's see if it gives us a indication here. Check and verify, check and verify, check and verify. No, that's not what I want. I want the author, god damn it. I can't tell from this whether or not Sambraj has a penis. Anyway, let's get back to this article here. Oh, sons of bitches. I lost the original story here. This slide. No, wrong one. This story. Here we go. Days after granting its 6th ever Bitcoin bit license to cryptocurrency wallet Zappo, New York has approved fintech startup Square to operate in the state, enabling its users to buy and sell Bitcoin. The New York Department of Financial Services, NYDFS, announced on Monday its formal approval of Square's application for a virtual currency license known as BitLicense. I call it shit license, but we won't go there. Commonly acknowledged and often criticized as the strictest U.S. state law governing cryptocurrencies, this is the 7th bit license granted to a company nearly 3 years after Bitcoin startup Circle earned the first license in September of 2015. Square, which notably has an existing money transmitter license from the DFS, began supporting Bitcoin through its popular Cash App earlier this year. In doing so, the digital payments firm offered instant buying and selling of the world's most prominent cryptocurrency through its platform. Quote, "We are thrilled to now provide New Yorkers with Cash App's quick and simple way to buy and sell Bitcoin," said Square's Cash App chief, Brian Grassadonia. Square's decision to support Bitcoin has helped boost its stock this year and has seen the company earn a profit from $34 million in total crypto-related revenue in Q1 of 2018. The DFS said it took Square through a comprehensive review to check the firm's anti-money laundering, anti-fraud, consumer protection, cybersecurity, and capitalization policies before bestowing the license, which will be subject to ongoing supervision throughout. DFS Superintendent Maria Di Vullo said in statements, DFS is pleased to approve Square's application and welcomes them to New York's expanding and well-regulated virtual currency market. DFS continues to work in support of a vibrant and competitive virtual currency market that connects and empowers New Yorkers in a global marketplace while ensuring strong state regulatory oversight is in place. Coincidentally, it has also been revealed that crypto brokerage Genesis Trading has been collaborating with Square to enable Bitcoin buying and selling ever since the Letters pilot in fall of 2017. The Ladders pilot, my apologies, sir. In its announcement today, the DFS also referenced it had denied, quote, those applications that did not meet the DFS's standards without naming the companies. Yeah, because then they would be able to, if they did name the companies, you know what would happen? If a single one of them was denied because the head of the NYDFS just didn't like the color of the guy's tie, said, you know what, fuck you and fuck your tie. That would be it. All stain of legitimacy the NYDFS has with regard to their ability to regulate cryptocurrency to the safety and benefit of New Yorkers would be completely fucking blown. Continuing on. Some cryptocurrency exchanges like Kraken and Shapeshift, who do not operate in New York, have been vocal in their criticism of the formal state license. Quote, let's call BitLicense what it is. An absolute failure, said Shapeshift Chief Executive Eric Voorhees, while taking stage at this year's industry event, Consensus in New York. I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Ooh, Arth Eat It. This is one of the comments on here. BitLicense isn't just failure, it's also scam. Who are they to define who is allowed to have a cryptocurrency license and who not? Ripple is just looking for money earning cattle. That's all. That's good. Shame on you, New York, for carrying on the bullshit ass BitLicense started by an individual who left and now charges companies a fee to help them secure the license. Does anyone else see the conflict here? Get rid of it. And that was by L. Dent. Absolutely, good sir. Absolutely. Or ma'am, whoever L is. Because we have discovered that women do give a damn about cryptocurrencies. So, anyway, here we have it. You know, that the people understand exactly what the fuck the deal is with regard to BitLicense. All it was is control of competition. You know, they didn't want Merrill Lynch and Goldman Sachs and Chase and all these guys to have to compete on an even playing field with Coinbase and other cryptocurrency agencies that aren't like millions of dollars in a company. You know, but the requirements for BitLicense are very, very significant. And I know somewhere online I have posted BitLicense in full. And if you have an opportunity to find it, I'm pretty sure it's either on SoundCloud or Mixcloud. And you'll find it under like DJ eRock23 or my name, Frank Dashwood, or CoinMetal. Take a listen, because I'll tell you what, it was terrible reading it. I mean, it really, like, it pained my heart to know that the people of New York were being subjected to such draconian measures. You know, and the fact of the matter is that BitLicense makes the head of the NYDFS like king of crypto in New York, more powerful than the governor. You know, where he can arbitrarily just say, you know what, I don't like this coin, I don't like this group, I don't like this company, I don't like this service. This service, you know, they compete with, you know, some stock that I'm heavily invested in, so no, I'm not going to let them have a license. And then that company's asked out the application fee because that's a non-refundable thing, and I'm pretty sure it's like $25,000 just to apply for it. It's either $5,000 or $25,000. I'm almost positive it's $25,000. But the point being is it immediately puts the bar for participating in cryptocurrencies in New York significantly out of the range of your average 17-year-old with a kick-ass crypto project who wants to serve the people of the great state of New York, and they can't, because the NYDFS has predetermined the rules for everybody within the state of New York and anybody who tries to do business with the people of New York. I find that so offensive. It's like, if you want to include this little speck of dirt on the face of this planet in your business, you need to apply for this fucking license. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. So yeah, congratulations. You got your Bit license. You're one of 7 companies in the entire planet that has one. No, we're not trying to make a monopoly here. Give me a break. Sorry, I'm trying to tone it down on the profanity. Anyway, here we go. Let's throw in some music. Meshuggah, Combustion, here on Coin Metal. And that was Overkill with The Wheel. And yeah, I've got a few different directions I wanted to go in with this particular episode. I got like 8 billion tabs open on my browser. I always got to worry that at least one of them is crypto jack in my goddamn browser in the back. Anyway, I saw this one and I kind of had to laugh because I keep hearing this over and over and over again, and I don't know. It's starting to make me think like they're trying to brainwash everybody into this idea, but the concept of Bitcoin as a singular global reserve currency, I'm pretty sure that's not what it was designed to be. I mean, for one thing, we have altcoins, which opens up the possibility of multiple base currencies, not simply Bitcoin. So there you have the introduction of competition right off the bat, and that eliminates the possibility of it being the global reserve currency, especially if there are other currencies out there that people can be transacting in. It's all about choice, you know? And it's not just about choice of which currency they want to transact in, but also how they want to transact. As I'd indicated to Mr. Thomas on his show that this morning on World Crypto Network. I told him I don't use SegWit, and that's a political choice, because I don't like where SegWit Lightning Network goes with regard to Bitcoin, because I think it ends up with third-party arbiters handling everything, just like the fiat system that we have now, and you're back to trust. I'm pretty sure that Bitcoin was invented to eliminate the need to trust. So, again, reintroducing a trusted broker into every little orifice you can just seems kind of antithetical to Bitcoin and what it was meant to achieve, you know? Anyway, here it is. Bitcoin will become a global reserve asset, Zappo president. And this is by John Kojo Kumi. My apologies, John. So yes, penis. This is authored June 17th, 2018. Here we go. The president of Zappo, Ted Rogers, has predicted that Bitcoin will become the future of the global reserve asset. The possibility of the cryptocurrency becoming part of the list of currencies in the special drawing right of the International Monetary Fund has been ruled out by some experts for some reasons. Yeah, it's actually accountable. Can't have that in the fucking International Monetary Fund. According to him, the tendency for Bitcoin to achieve this feat is so high that questions about its future should be, quote, when, not if. Quote, it's a question of when, not if, Bitcoin is going to become the global reserve asset for individuals, institutions, and governments, he said. He added that Bitcoin is going to replace gold. That's not going to happen. It's going to replace gold, and it may also become a ubiquitous global currency. It already is, dude. We achieved that a long time ago. We achieved that in like 2012. Foreign reserve assets or currencies form parts of the International Monetary Fund's SDR. The SDR was designed in 1969 by the IMF to support global trade when gold and the US dollars were in shortage. Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. There have been many times the cryptocurrency has been subjected to intensive criticisms. Some experts have labeled Bitcoin as a scam and the cryptocurrency market as a fraud. The Twitter CEO holds a higher hope that Bitcoin will surely be the future of finance. Rogers has been said to hold $10 billion worth of Bitcoin in an underground vault, hence having a fair hope in the digital asset. Rogers also said in an interview that the Bitcoin price will stabilize for the few days ahead. Quote, over the next 7 to 14 days, I kind of expect Bitcoin's price to not be too far from where it is now, he said. Some analysts believe that there is no way Bitcoin can become part of the SDR. According to them, it can form part of individuals' unofficial reserves, but has no future as it is portrayed to be. Bitcoin has struggled to win hearts of many countries to become a global denomination. Even when Bitcoin transactions become universally possible, it will still struggle to have the support of global economies. Bullshit! The cryptocurrency has not disappointed after its introduction. It has become a payment option of some renowned institutions and still has the potential to become a backbone of the future financial market. Yeah, through Lightning Network and all that, I'm sure that's your plan, your idea. But that again assumes everybody wants to use Lightning Networks. And like I said, well, you can kind of guess my perspective on that. I think it's kind of silly. But the idea of using Bitcoin as a global reserve, you have to ask yourself, whose Bitcoin are we talking about? Are we talking about your Bitcoin or the Bitcoin held by the CEO guy? You know, I've said multiple times that in the discussions by Lightning Labs and others concerning the Lightning Network, there's always this guy that they talk about, Bob. You know, Bob's got a lot of Bitcoin and he's willing to front for all kinds of transactions happening. Who are we talking about? We're talking about this guy, Ted Rogers. Supposedly got $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. Gosh, how many payment channels do you think he can pre-fund? I mean, really now. We don't have to guess who these people are. I mean, shit, we talk about them all the time. R3, Goldman Sachs, all these guys. As a matter of fact, we're gonna drop into an article here about R3. I've always had to wonder about them, you know, because they're a group of several banks, At least that was my understanding of them. And they kind of like co-determine their ideas as to where they want to go with regard to cryptocurrencies and what their policies are going to be with regard to cryptocurrencies. I don't know. I'm not a member of R3, so I couldn't tell you specifically, but maybe we'll find out a little bit more about it in this Meow article. CCN.com, R3 not going bankrupt, in a very strong financial position, CEO David Rudder. I would expect a CEO to say something like that. The chief executive of R3 is striking back at a recent report that the enterprise blockchain startup is hemorrhaging cash and is well on its way to bankruptcy. Writing an official statement on the R3 blog, David E. Rudder said the firm, which has raised more than $120 million over multiple funding rounds, is in a, quote, very strong financial position. He wrote, quote, R3 is in a very strong financial position. We have the widest and largest funding base in the enterprise blockchain space, having raised more than $120 million from more than 45 institutions and brought in over $20 million in US dollars in revenue. His statement represents a marked contrast to the report, which we are going to right-click on. First appearing in Fortune, that R3 has struggled to turn a profit or even develop a viable business model, even as it has seen high-profile institutions such as Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Santander exit its banking consortium. The report cited anonymous former employees who said R3's revenue has been laughably off targets, that people at the company expect to be out of money by the first quarter of 2019. Rudder said that these statements were, quote, false, malicious rumors, and denied that R3 was wasting its funding. Quote, we've always been very sensitive of operating as cost efficiently as possible, and in fact our average operating expenses per employee has declined each year since launch. We pride ourselves on continuously monitoring, evaluating, and trimming expenditures to deliver maximum value for our shareholders. As CCN reported, R3's open source Corda software was recently deployed by AP Maersk, the world's largest shipping company, to create a blockchain platform for marine insurance. Last year, R3 partnered with nearly 24 members of its banking consortium to launch a cross-border payments platform based on Corda. Meanwhile, the firm is currently embroiled in a lawsuit with Ripple, stemming from a failed partnership between the two organizations. The suit, which involves the right to purchase XRP at a rate far below the current market price, could be worth billions of dollars. Yeah. You know, I talked a little bit about R3 and their relationship with Ripple a while ago, and it was never clear to me what the product of this relationship was intended to be. Whether in fact we were talking about intrinsic development between R3 and Ripple, you know, where they were having representatives working on both sides of the aisle, so to speak, or you know, whether it meant that Ripple would be giving favorable positions to R3. You know, what kind of merits were conferred in being involved in R3? You know, are you getting a step ahead of the market as far as what's to be deployed, what the expectations are, so on and so forth? Or is it that there really isn't too deep a mesh? It's more just a matter of a tax write-off for several organizations involving themselves in R3, and the potential of future profits should Ripple become adopted as some sort of banking instrument where banks are transferring funds from one place to another within their own systems using Ripple or any number any one of a number of their associated projects, and I couldn't name them all, but Corda obviously being an associated one through R3. But yeah, we have yet to see the real, how should I say this, the real apocalypse when it comes to these organizations and their associations. They were talking about Maersk. I think there's going to be just as much fraud and displacement as there ever was. You might be able to narrow the place where it's happening down to a specific vendor, where you'll be able to determine over a period of time whether a specific vendor is abusing your relationship with them and how exactly they are. But I don't know that would give you any more information than you already have with available tools. And I think that's the biggest goal with regard to adopting something like cryptocurrencies or even quote-unquote blockchains, is does the utilization of it necessitate you actually managing one on your own? Meaning, wouldn't it be more cost effective to use an existing network and just have your own anonymizing methods that you use and use like Dogecoin or some shit like that, transact in some tiny cheap coin that nobody's monitoring and you save yourself all the trouble of having to maintain some global network. There's already a global network out there. I'm sure there's at least one of them that will suit your needs. There's only I think 1,000 or so cryptocurrencies that are live right now, not counting ICOs. So, it's not really a matter of being constrained to a specific choice. As a matter of fact, I told somebody earlier today about this, that every time that I've cashed out cryptocurrencies to fiat, the processes that are available to me, the methods that are available to me to convert my currency from one to another, made it possible for me to maximize the benefit to me during the process of cashing out. I ended up saving all kinds of money doing it my way. When I was doing it through Bitcoin, again, I'm doing it via standard transactions. I don't get on with this whole SegWit business. But nonetheless, I'm using Bitcoin as it was intended to be used, and it's very, very expensive to do that. So, I use things like Bitcoin Cash. There you go. And that's not a plug for Bitcoin Cash. I'm not in the employ of fucking Roger Ver or anybody like that. Don't I wish? Then I'd be actually making money from this. But the point being that I've used other currencies other than Bitcoin in Bitcoin's stead, because as an option, it's become less favorable to me to use. I don't intend to be spending my Bitcoin only with a few little vendors that have actually adopted Lightning. I don't give a fuck about Lightning. If I wanted to use Lightning, I'd use a fucking refillable Visa card, because that's what it is. It's a fucking refillable Visa card. The only difference is the monetary value stored therein is in Bitcoin on one and US dollars on the other, ostensibly, for all I know. For all I know, it's actually Ripple, because Walmart adopted Ripple. I don't give a fuck as long as it spends. When we're talking about a tool like a Visa card, I don't care as long as it spends. When we're talking about a tool like a cryptocurrency wallet, I don't really care as long as it spends. And people talking about how quote unquote difficult it is to use Bitcoin. Bitcoin is as easy to use as your goddamn credit card. You scan the QR code, you type in the amount, and you click send. The wallet tells you how much you're paying. It tells you how much Bitcoin you're paying and how much it takes to get to the price that you're actually trying to make. There's not a whole lot of difficulty going on here. You know, people that would tell you that, oh, you need to run a live node just to be able to do Bitcoin transactions. No, you don't. Never needed that for the last 6 years that I've been transacting Bitcoin, so why would I need it now? Like I said, additional costs. I'm a manufacturing guy, so introducing additional costs just to introduce additional costs doesn't seem very smart to me. Introducing additional liabilities just to introduce liabilities does not seem very intelligent to me. There are plenty of other people that will drop the ball for you. You do not want it happening in your digital transactions. You want that shit to be going from them to you or you to them. And you want it to get there. Because otherwise you get nailed for fraud or you have to sue somebody or some other state-involved arbitration that it's just no good for anybody. You know, to me it just makes sense. It just makes sense to use the thing that gives you all of that. And not try and fuck it up just to make sure your little nephew has a job sometime in the near future. Fuck that. Let that kid learn macrame. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I've been dying to play some Slayer. Here it is, Disciple, here on Coin Metal. That was Prong with Broken Peace. I was going to let it shoot straight into Crowbar, but we'd already gone a little bit long, so I didn't want to do that to you. Anywho, I've just been fumbling along through my Twitter feed, and I found an interesting thread. It's one that I kind of dive into repeatedly, which I probably shouldn't. There's so much more happening in the crypto sphere. As a matter of fact, we're probably not going to be pursuing that particular angle until it starts bearing a little more fruit. I'm expecting a transition soon of one type or another. And when we do see it, then it'll be time to talk about it. A little more depth. But the one thing I did have on here that I definitely want to talk about, if I can find the damn thing now. Blah, blah, blah. R3 running out of money. No, that's not what we wanted to cover. There we go. This is one I kind of anticipated would happen. And I think it's giving an additional lifespan to miners as a private venture that you and I can get into, or mining, because it motivates the production of more mining gear. And so here it is. This is Bitcoin mining on ccn.com, June 18th, 2018, 1403. Again, no indication of time zone or penis. Bitcoin miners in China's remote regions are undeterred by restrictions. Though Chinese authorities have previously taken various measures aimed at curtailing the trading of cryptocurrencies, the mining of Bitcoin has continued unabated in some of China's remote parts, according to Nikkei Asian Review report, which we're going to right-click on. Let's see if it's actually in English. Ah, yes it is. Good stuff. Oh, and it was authored on the 16th, so we may actually follow it up. Continuing on. In China, these regions enjoy blah, blah, blah. Okay. These regions enjoy excess electricity supply capacity and are considered poor relative to the economic powerhouses of Beijing and Shanghai. They include Sichuan Province, which is fondly known as the capital of Bitcoin mining, and Qinghai province. My apologies if I'm murdering the pronunciation of that. In China's Qinghai province, one of the large-scale miners is owned by the Furde, a term used to describe the rich kids of the country's military and Communist Party officials and other elite. While both Sichuan and Qinghai provinces enjoy abundant and cheap electricity, the two neighboring regions are relatively poor due to their heavy reliance on tourism and the mining of ground resources. Qinghai, for instance, plans to develop cryptocurrency as an industry in the hopes of creating jobs and generating revenues for the local government. Geopolitical purposes. While there were reports earlier in the year that Chinese authorities were putting in place measures aimed at severely curtailing the mining of cryptocurrencies, this has not materialized. According to Nikkei Asian Review, one of the reasons why is complete obliteration of this sector has not happened is because China is keen on influencing the international flow of money. Duh, like everybody else is. The United States already enjoys this power through the US dollar, and cryptocurrencies could do the same for China. Xi, the president of China, desires this power for China, similarly to how the U.S. seeks to retain the dollar's key currency status through its network of transactions worldwide, observes the Japanese publication. Currently, it is estimated that China's share of the globe's cryptocurrency mining capacity is around 70%. The chief executive officer of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, was even recently quoted as saying that Bitcoin is really controlled by China. Economic boost to poor regions. The dominance of the world's most populous country in Bitcoin mining is partly due to the fact that cheap electricity is abundant in the country. Besides Sichuan and Qinghai regions, such as Inner Mongolia and Zhejiang, possess huge coal resources, and the mining of cryptocurrencies is an opportunity to transform their less sophisticated economies. The world's largest economy is also home to some of the leading manufacturers of crypto mining hardware, and this includes Bitmain Technologies. The Bitcoin mining giant Technologies, for instance, has put some of the world's biggest mining facilities in Inner Mongolia. As an illustration, the Inner Mongolia city of Ordos sells electricity to Bitmain at only 4 cents per kilowatt hour, well below the prices in other parts of the world. That's how you motivate people to come to you. Duh. Now let's read some of these comments, because it seems like there's a lot of them. Erectile Dysfunction says, the point isn't the electricity usage. I'm sure it's subsidized. It is the policy of Uncle Z, aka Winnie the Pooh, of China, is keen on influencing the international flow of money. Just look at the Belt and Road Initiative. Look at the South China Sea. If they control all the Bitcoin mining, then in theory, he can exert control over Bitcoin and other cryptos. His desire is to have everything pegged to and controlled by the yuan. Not going to happen. Dusan, or Dusan, or Dusan, I don't know. We truly are in for a huge change. I'm not saying everything is good and everyone investing now in crypto will be rich in 5 years. I'm saying that all this electricity consumption will affect the world in a negative way. No, I disagree, but continuing on. But there will be fantastic changes as well. Blockchain will bring new changes to the technology that we now know. Companies will be created, more people will get employed. The capitalist West will never ban crypto trading. They can tax the already taxed money, so expect more regulations and control from the government. A lot more. Cryptocurrency, blockchain, and mining is not going away. This is not equal to the dot-com bubble. This is equal to the creation of the internet. I kind of agree, but kind of disagree too. Wakanda Trader. If one considers the possible reduction of electricity usage by the global financial services sector, ergo bank branches, data centers, bloated head offices, ATMs, etc., due to their declining relevance, mining activities will merely be consuming the electricity that would have been consumed by the sector, based on the assumption that digital currencies truly start competing with the financial sector. Very, very good. Very good, Wakanda Trader. A very astute observation there. And I did hear that indicated. I believe it was by Peter Schiff. He was talking about how banks and all of their branches and all of their ATMs consume a significant amount of electricity. Way the fuck more than Bitcoin does. Way more than all Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining put together. And I believe him. If you want to add on to that, things like physical deliveries of volumes of silver, gold, other precious metals, other precious commodities, and or US dollars or other fiat currencies, then you're talking about an additional expenditure of energy that would vastly blow what we spend on cryptocurrency away. I mean, just in gas alone for trucks to move shit from point A to point B in the financial system is way more than Bitcoin mining. I think that's one of the things that is overblown about cryptocurrencies is the public's perception of exactly how much electricity is being dedicated to this. You know, the fact of the matter is that what mining that is going on right now is probably not competing with your local city's infrastructure or will create enough competition for the electricity for the rest of the people there to even notice. And if it does come to a point where cryptocurrency mining is like, you know, the capital fucking consumer of electricity in the area, I'm sure the local public will have a decision to make. It's like, you know, do we want to keep these people here or do we want to adjust things to where they have to go somewhere else? It's a choice that's open to them. You know, they can make some sort of exemption for I don't know, residents or whatever, and then put in some sort of tax that only applies to non-residents or non-residents as in non-houses, you know, so like all the businesses and so on and so forth, or even a classification, an energy classification of the business, you know, concerning how much electricity it burns for its actual output. However, I would surmise that Bitcoin mining and cryptocurrency mining would probably be more profitable on the kilowatt hour than a number of other businesses that are actually currently in operation. So, again, it comes down to what you actually want to dedicate the electricity to and what's most efficient for you as far as the cost benefit, you know. If Bitcoin goes through some major spike, every one of these little towns that have been bitching that Bitcoin miners have showed up at all, they're going to be singing a whole different tune because all of a sudden there's going to be this flood of new money coming into the area as these Bitcoin miners are having to cash out and go to fiat, right? Well, they got to spend that money somewhere. They're most likely going to bank local. That's going to introduce a significant quantity of money that wasn't previously there into your economy. And in lasting ways. You know, we're talking about people that will be contributing to your existing tax pools. You know, when they buy gas to fuel their new vehicles, that gas tax is going to your local pools and also federal pools. No going there. The point being that it increases the amount of economic activity that will go on in your area when the guys that are doing it are more successful. So I think over the longer term we are going to see where municipalities and localities will be competing with one another on a global scale for the attention of miners. Because they'll be looking at the cost benefit and saying, so what, they only employ 30 people, they bring in, $300 million worth of economic activity into this area that wasn't previously here. All that shit's going into my bank, and my bank suddenly got money to loan to local businesses and services. And so all of a sudden I've got this proliferation of little businesses, independent businesses that are popping up, and those people actually need to hire people to help them out, unlike the Bitcoin miners. And there you go. There's my unemployment issue taken care of, because they're actually willing to pay those people a significant amount of money to get the job done, and suddenly it's more competitive to keep it local. This is not going to end. This effect that we're talking about it's like a mind virus. We're only seeing certain iterations of it now. I believe that Bitcoin Cash will show us in the not so distant future. We're going to have a bump of adoption, only we're not going to be seeing as much of it going to Bitcoin. We're going to see more of it going to Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, the Big 10, and maybe even the Big 20, 30. Point being that more of it's going to be going to altcoins than has been. More of the interest is going to be going to altcoins. People are going to be exploring altcoins and trying to determine whether or not the experience is just as good, if not better, than using Bitcoin. And when that comes around, oh my goodness, people, I believe that several cryptocurrencies are very, very competitive with Bitcoin. And then when people do see that difference, the difference in the quality of service, the speed of transfer, so on and so forth, the amount of bullshit you have to go through in order to do it, that they're going to find out that there are cryptocurrencies other than Bitcoin that work just as good, if not way better, and can suit their needs and help them preserve their monetary value. And that's going to be the real test. I think that's going to happen before or maybe slightly after the deployment of the commercial deployment of Lightning Network. I think that people are going to experience a PETA differential, pain in the ass, that's significant enough for them to just say, screw it, I'm going to use Dogecoin, it's cheaper, faster, and I don't have to put up with all this bullshit. I don't have to have my own node, I just have to have a wallet and connections to the network, and I'm all good. Done and done. And I don't know what it is, but some people seem to think there's a difference between a corporation or an individual or a retail outlet or a mom and pop store when it comes to Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency transactions. We all want the same things out of them. We want them fast, and we want them to actually fucking happen. And we want to retain as much monetary value in the transfer as possible, if not gain some in the transfer. In the arbitrage between currencies, maybe we receive it and hodl it for a little bit before we cash it out and experience an appreciation in between. This is taking advantage of the situation that's available to you rather than confining yourself outside of all of that profit. This industry is one where, sure, you can self-select and you can narrow the scope of the people that you're doing business and whatnot, but all of a sudden you've also contained the utility of the tool that you're making available. It's only going to be useful to a certain number of people. And if only a certain number of people are profiting from it, the tendency to divert towards those services versus others, be a little more diminished. People will be looking for better options. And I imagine that such is the case with Coinbase and a few others as of late, as they've been exercising some tactics that would appear by all standards in cryptocurrencies to be censorship, limiting participation, or at least attempting to. And I find that very unfortunate, because they've been a very, very good service for a lot of people. They've been a tremendous source for onboarding people. Certainly made it a lot easier to get the likes of my dad and others on board. But I think they're starting to abuse that position. And I see a time in the not so distant future where it won't matter that they're diversifying their availability of products to institutional investors and shit like that. They're going to lose more of their ordinary customer base that provides the vast majority of their fees and lends to them any kind of legitimacy whatsoever. Utility matters, kids. It does. You know, you could become MySpace. It's happened before. It will happen again. Shit, it's even happened in crypto, and it can happen again. And it's something to really pay attention to. You know, when you're sitting around with your friends and you're scheming up the next big whiz-bang killer app for Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency space, you really got to be considering things like, who is my intended audience, who is my intended customer base, and will that be enough to grow and sustain upon later on? And what's the level of threat I could face from other competitors doing the same thing or similar, or providing similar services? You know, what's the PETA differential between my project and theirs? How does that factor into user experience? You know, because even if I'm tailoring my product to, you know, the 10 biggest banks on the planet Earth, and it looks like candy to them, if there are other products or other means available to them that are cheaper in pain in the ass, or just cheaper in dependence on you, they're going to take those options. Because they're just as eager to introduce dependencies into their shit, additional hands that they got to hand money to, into their systems, as you are. Which is, in my estimation, no. I have zero interest to introducing additional parties into my commerce. Because again, that's parties potentially that aren't actually lending any real utility to your service or product, or making it more available to other people. And in which case, I mean, is that something you could acquire on your own? Maybe if you were just a little more patient, instead of seeking the adoption of somebody bigger than you, you put the effort forward with regard to your social media canvassing and trying to create public awareness without the big hands with the big wads of money and all that other shit. Because, believe it or not, there are liabilities that come with that. You know, that VC money isn't just money for nothing and your chicks for free. There's more to that deal going on. I said this a long time ago, but chasing adoption leads to corruption. When you're keeping ahead of you, trying to keep up adoption or trying to use adoption of your service as a driver, you're invariably going to find that you need to compromise the quality of your product or service, or your integrity to the whims or addition of outside parties that you don't have any control over. And your dependence on them could redefine the direction of your product and its development. You could end up with something that is vastly different than what started. And don't tell me you haven't seen that before, because we're kind of watching it battle through Bitcoin at the moment. And I don't expect that is going to change about Bitcoin. I think that it's, as a competition, it's going to morph over time. But I think in the not-so-distant future, we're going to find out that segregated witness and Lightning Network really isn't all it's cracked up to be with regard to solving the quote-unquote scaling issues of Bitcoin, meaning making it more available for the public to use. Now, the question is, are the trade-offs that make that possible more expensive to endure than just using regular standard transactions? You know, I don't have to keep a node live to do a standard transaction on the Bitcoin network. I just need a live wallet or other service that I could be using it through. You know, but the point being is I'm not limited to the use of Lightning in order to perform any of these projects or desires now. Why do I want to introduce more costs to myself? Anyway, I would like to throw down a little more music before we close this one out. And I haven't played any Megadeth, I don't think, today, so here it is. The Threat is Real off Dystopia here on Coin Metal. And that was Faith No More with Surprise, You're Dead. I got this last article for the evening. I think we can close it out on a positive note here. And this one's on CCN. We've gotten a lot of material off of them today. And of course, no attribution, so no indication of penis. Investors turn bullish as cryptocurrency market adds $12 billion in 24 hours. And this authored June 19th, 2018 at 6:42, I'm supposing UTC. Over the past 24 hours, the cryptocurrency market added $12 billion as major cryptocurrencies including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and Bitcoin Cash experienced a short-term corrective rally. Breathing room, but not entirely optimistic. The Bitcoin price rebounded from $6,300 to $6,700, breaking a descending trend line since May 3rd, when Bitcoin achieved $10,000. While it is too early to conclude that Bitcoin has entered into a midterm rally, given that it is still likely for Bitcoin to fall below the $6,000 mark in the short term, the cryptocurrency market has gained a breathing room from the recent major correction that began in early May. On yesterday's report, CCN noted that if Bitcoin falls below the $6,300 mark, it could initiate another downward trend, potentially to the higher end of the $5,000 region. CCN also emphasized that if Bitcoin rebounds to $6,600 in a period of 24 hours, there exists a possibility that Bitcoin stops a potential move to the $5,000 region. We'll probably do both. So far, Bitcoin has been able to remain relatively stable in the mid $6,000 zone with stable volume and moving averages, demonstrating some momentum for the dominant cryptocurrency. But if Bitcoin falls back down to the $6,400 region in the upcoming days, it is likely that Bitcoin will continue its downward trajectory. Investors have become more optimistic and bullish on the market due to the abrupt surge in the volume and price of Bitcoin within a small 2-hour period. If investors want to see Bitcoin remain above the $7,000 mark in the short term, it will have to reverse the bearish sentiment by restoring the volume and continuing the current upward trend of Bitcoin. As of now, based on the movement of Bitcoin in the past 24 hours, it cannot be concluded that Bitcoin restored its bullish sentiment and is ready to move to the upside. If Bitcoin does sustain its momentum and add volume in the next 2 to 3 days, and remain above the $6,800 mark, a move towards $7,000 can be a possibility. We'll probably do that too. Custodian solution in the works. This week, Coinbase, the world's most widely utilized cryptocurrency exchange, wallet, and brokerage, revealed that it is preparing to bring third-party institutional custody to the cryptocurrency market and digital assets. Kyle Samani, the managing partner at Multicoin Capital, which partnered with Coinbase to bring its institutional products to the public market, said, quote, "There are a lot of investors where custodianship was the final barrier. Over the next year, the market will come to recognize that custodianship is a solved problem. This will unlock a big wave of capital." Several prominent investors and hedge fund managers, including Ari Paul from Block Tower, previously echoed a similar sentiment and noted that the lack of custodian solutions have forced institutional investors to sit on the sidelines. Currently, there are no institutional investors in the cryptocurrency market. That's bullshit. And the sector is mainly driven by retail or individual investors. Like that's such a bad thing. That soon could change, however, with companies like Coinbase, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs working on institutional level suite of products. And again, what utility will it have for you? That's the big question. You know, it's like if they make it available to the public to invest in and trade on and all that, okay, you know, it'll have some utility to you then. But if it's just institutional investors and institutional money flowing back and forth, then you have to participate with one of these institutional investors in order to participate at all. In which case it loses some of its utility to you, if not has that utility to you entirely evaporated. If the institutionals are the only participants that could play at that level, that would introduce an additional barrier that would prevent you from participating in it. So again, why would you care? You know, if it becomes to a point where, you know, this becomes the dominant amount of business that's being done with Bitcoin is just among institutional investors, you know, like they price us out of it or something like that. There's already several other cryptocurrencies that we could be transacting our monetary value in that they do not have exclusive dominance over. And this is an existing threat now, and I believe will continue to exist. I don't think the licensure stamp of approval of the SEC or CFTC or any other federal or international organization for that matter is going to prevent the intent investor from putting some of their funds where they want to. I believe, if anything, additional attempts to force the market in that direction will only cause more of the interest in it to shift to spaces and products where that's not really an issue. And it is with that I want to go ahead and close out this episode. We will be back again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. So with that, I want to go ahead and close it out with a song by Fear Factory here, Digimortal, Last Dance, here on Coin Metal. Thank you very, very much for listening. You'll be able to find this and other episodes on my YouTube channel. You can find me on Twitter or in the Telegram chat for Verge Currency. So until Wednesday, y'all have an excellent evening.